So when people come to me, they often say, I don't know why I keep saying yes.
I'm sure you're like, I do. Let me tell you, you got a couple minutes?
They're like, I don't know why I say yes to things I don't want to do. And then I feel bad. I feel sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
My head hurts. I can't sleep at night. And appeasement works like that because it's working against your own vital force to be free.
Appeasement. The definition of appeasement is the policy of giving in to demands in order to maintain peace or avoid conflict. Let's give it a context. It often occurs when one party tries to pacify or satisfy another, even if it means making concessions that may not be in their best interest or even in the other person's best interest. The purpose of appeasement is to protect and to prevent escalation or aggression. In other words, stop a fight.
Welcome to Call for the Truth. I am LaOta of the Sun, and this is Tarvars of the Sun. And we'd like you to join us in our discussion about appeasement today. Before we begin, would you call for the truth and have us join you in the Call for Truth?
Well, certainly. We encourage you all to join us in our call for the truth. Shall we call forth the frequency of truth? Shall we call to see the truth in all that we see? Shall we call to hear the truth in all that we hear? And shall we call to speak the truth? Shall we call for the courage to speak the truth? Shall we call forth nothing less than the truth to come forward into our experience? And now that we are in the truth, we're talking about appeasement, and I'd like us to break that down. But before we do, encourage you all, if you're enjoying these truth conversations and want to be of support, subscribe, share with people the truth of a Sun. And so appeasement, what is appeasement? Because sometimes when I share this with people, they're like, wait, so say that again? What's that? And then when I explain it, it makes sense, but it's a term that is not widely understood by people. So would you break down what is appeasement?
Actually, I'd like to ask you to share with us what you share with people, and then I'll...
All right, I see you didn't tennis balled it back. You're like, oh, no, you did hit with the Uno reverse card. So what I share with people, what appeasement is a form of going against your better judgment and doing things that you may not want to do, but you do them anyway. Right. Some examples of this would be a family member may ask you, or a friend may ask you to take them to the airport or pick them up from the airport. It may be a very inconvenient time to do so. It may really actually go against you and put you in detriment, but some levels of guilt or fear or concern of how they will think about you overrides the natural intelligence of what's in your best and highest interest at that moment, and we go against it.
Yes.
And so that suppressing the truth because of some guilt, and we essentially end up living a lie.
Absolutely.
And that can be problematic because, as you told me in the past, which I live this reality, if you continue living life like that, where you go against your better judgment of what's in your best and highest interest, you end up creating a world of hell for yourself. And that happened to me. I looked up like, what is this? I was saying yes to everything, friends, family, business, lovers, all that. And it was just such an undesirable reality. And I had a lot of undoing to move into. So that's my definition, as well as a little narrative.
I think it's an excellent definition. I move on not to add to the definition, but to say, when you do that, you lie to self. When you lie to yourself, your body was established in truth. You cannot support the organs or the bones or the muscles or the cellular matrix of your body. You become weak, and you begin to lose integrity on every possible level. Integrity of strength, but also integrity of spirit, where you cannot voice the truth of what you would like to do because you have given authority over to someone else to voice the truth that they want you to do. That you have put yourself in the posture of making sure that you came here to earth to do what would please them.
People pleaser.
Yeah, these things happen through cultivation in our families, but also from the larger aspect of ourselves from past lives. If you used to work for the queen and she had a tendency to cut people's heads off if they didn't do what she wanted done happily and with a smile, you might have been informed that way through a lifetime or two, where you arrive at like, I'm ready to do whatever anybody asks me to do. You know, it's a I'm saying it in humor, but it's a reality that we are coded that way. If you think of yourself as a larger aspect that is sometimes traumatized and sometimes injured and informed through the other experiences in other lifetimes and in your ancestry. Your ancestry informs you in other lifetimes. And if that happened, then you may find yourself having to make a decision about whether or not in this lifetime it's necessary, because it may have been necessary to stay alive.
I was just gonna, that was the thing I wanted to expound on, how those past life experiences, I don't want to say you didn't have a choice, but it was really like life, death, survival circumstances where the appeasement to the queen and this meant like, hey, I want my head or my hands or my fingers, whatever that might have been, or within the family structure, oh, I must work at home and tend to the cattle and do this and that, whatever the circumstance was. And then we get into this lifetime and it's like, dang, we don't necessarily have those same intense pressors or stressors. Triggers are there, but it's not at the same level of intensity to justify, even though it's still not justifiable, but to ourselves to justify such behaviors.
So when people come to me, they often say, I don't know why I keep saying yes.
I'm sure you're like, I do. Let me tell you, you got a couple minutes?
They're like, I don't know why I say yes to things I don't want to do. And then I feel bad. I feel sick to my stomach. Yeah. My head hurts. I can't sleep at night. And appeasement works like that because it's working against your own vital force to be free.
I want to share a thought. When you said that, it really brought me back to my direct experience I had with the appeasement. And you were saying it's painful, you know, and there was a vicious cycle. I could see fear, then there's guilt, and then I appease, and then I punish myself. It's like, dang it, why did I do this? But I can't say no, I'm already too deep into it. And like you say, it's a literal force that has to be collapsed and can be collapsed. Would you talk a little bit more about the removal of these type of...
It most certainly can be collapsed. We have to first recognize it exists. Then the most important thing for in any spiritual work is you have to make a decision you want to be free of it. So whether it's from the ancestry of 10 generations of your mother's suffering and pain of having to do what someone else said when they didn't want to, which is still alive in you, or whether it's from your own other aspect of another, because we're multidimensional, another multidimensional reality where you are currently doing stuff in the multidimensional reality.
Yeah, you taking the most. If y'all want to know more about multidimensionality, type multidimensional in the comments and we'll take you there.
So all of those factors come in, but once you inform yourself deeply enough, you inform all of yourselves, all of your DNA and all of the past can be changed. You can change it by changing who you are. This is a lot to talk about in us.
No, but we're there. They have floaties. If you don't got your floaties, put them on.
The idea is identifying the levels of discomfort and then understanding you may change it and then deciding I will.
All right, so I want to take it to another direction. This is to build on what you're saying. One of the things that I've seen that is required to break free of these negative motivators is undoing social conditioning, which you alluded to. Saying like your mom, your grandma, your grandpa would always say yes and go against their better judgment because of the family, the sense of obligations. And it essentially equates into forms of enslavement. This is what it looks like in the soul clearing process. Well, about like 80% of you is willingly allowing yourself to be enslaved into situations where you feel like a limit or you don't have any control over your experience, and you just, all right, put the chains on me by default. So would you talk a little bit about breaking or dismantling the social conditioning of having to be so agreeable? And I want to say this one last thing, because you taught me something, and along with many others, and this is almost literally how she said it. You don't owe anyone anything other than the truth. And that really stuck with me, because in those cases where I felt the need to appease, the truth was I don't want to, or I may not have the energy or the means right now. It might not, maybe I can do it later. Maybe it can't be at the time that this person wants it, which is the truth, but it's like we go against it. So would you talk about that, the deconstruction?
There's so much to be said about the societal constructs, the religious structures, the educational structures. This goes all the way into the court system. It goes all the way into the medical. This whole idea of guilt, this idea that in the organic world of nature, there is nothing that is guilty. That does not come from creation. That comes from constructs that humans have used to control other humans. Like, you need to go to the hospital and visit the uncle that you've never known, that you've never seen, because he's sick, and because I said so, because you should feel guilty that your uncle, who you've never met, is dying. You know?
Excuse me, because I had a similar situation, even though I knew the uncle, and I still did. I'm like, no.
And you're also required to go through all the other rituals that our society.
Yeah, the funeral, the crying, the grief.
The birthdays, the funerals, the holidays, or you are not good. And the whole mob, all of us, you are not good because you didn't do what we wanted you to do, what you owe us.
So the validation from the outside world is being weaponized or used against us to control us. Would you say that's the driving force behind a person's internal appeasement, to be validated by the outside?
Well, in the first example, sometimes it's the threat of force, but even that.
Well, okay, I see it's nuanced.
And even that is because you haven't been taught that you're an eternal being, although we all know that energy cannot be destroyed. All of the religions say the hereafter, that's not there later.
Yeah, we after. Like,
that's not there later.
we in the hereafter.
Yes, and it all speaks of eternal life, but we are nose blind to the teachings that we adhere to. We adhere to the teachings, but we don't adhere to that part.
Could it be the two strands of DNA? Is that an issue?
No, we are operating in a distortion of our original design, which is 12 strand.
Gotcha.
We are operating like that. However,
it's a very elevated way to describe that.
There are many examples of those who have broken through the sphere of the gravitational pull of the third dimensional limitation that makes us agreeable. We can see it in our world. All of the people we consider to be famous, who came from nothing, broke through it.
Yeah.
That's how they got to be famous. You know, so you can pick your glass of wine that you give reverence to, but the reality is that there must be a decision. We are greater than any construct that controls or imprisons us. You could be in jail and be free, like Nelson Mandela. He ran the entire of South Africa from his jail cell. And he was in prison, but he wasn't in prison. The guards were bringing him birds and flowers and plants and, and messages and whatever, needed to happen. And so it's really this idea of how it is that we have decided to submit or appease the constructs that exist in our world. Those who are known as heretics are rubbing against that. Like, no, this doesn't feel right the way the children are being taught. This doesn't feel right the way the babies are being treated. This doesn't feel right the way women are being treated. Those who stand up like that are making their future experience of more freedom. Whether they face something that seems to be dramatic or not. we are, as all of the world religions say, we are eternal beings. You can't really get rid of us. We keep showing up.
We don't die. We multiply.
Nobody gets out of the third dimension alive. You're going to die anyway. So that's like the thing I want to whisper in somebody's ear. You're going to die anyway.
Should we do a podcast on death? Speaking about it or demystifying
If people want it.
Do you all want LaOta to speak about death? To normalize, because, it's the elephant in the room where people are like, oh.
So but it's the answer to appeasement. Like, what is the thing you're afraid of? Are you afraid of the person? Is it the big person who might slap you if you don't say yes in that moment? Or is it the idea that you might hurt Auntie's feelings? Is it the unsaid, what has not actually come into reality yet that you're afraid of? Are you afraid of the concept that they may not like what you're about to say?
So how does a person rationalize that in their mind, like in support with laws and principles? Because we know Auntie feeling some type of way is not in alignment with laws and principles. She ain't in her power, she's just all, sloppy equation. But how does one rationalize that to stay in their power?
It has to do with value of self. Do you value the creation aspect of life that is within you? Are you the spark of part of creation? Are you the fractal? Are you the reflection? Are you the hologram of Creator? How can you besmirch that by letting someone who is not lined up inform and be the author of you? How can I let somebody who's full of toxins and poisons, somebody who's living a life of debauchery, how can I let that be my inspiration?
This is making me think about, I don't know if I showed you this video. I think I did. Somebody saying, we out here letting people who drinking dirty water, eating toxic food, dictate and inform how we feel and make moves. I think that's a really good perspective.
It's even worse than that. We're letting their parasites tell us what to do.
Oh, man.
We're letting their candida inform us for what's for dinner.
Yeah.
Like the candida wants some sugar and starch. So we're letting their candida, their parasites, inform us to what we should be eating, doing, thinking. And they're mad at us because we're not doing enough to please them, the parasites.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be bringing me more chocolate cake. I need more white sugar so I can put it into my veins.
When you said that, I saw that the people are the parasites as well. The parasites in them, therefore they operate parasitic. Like,
the parasites become the author of the person.
Yeah.
And then if they don't wake up, then it becomes a frequency match. And then we see that in the behavior of men and women together in relationships, children with parents. We see the entitlement. We see the levels that you're just supposed to provide for me. There are no laws, no principles in the universe. It is only this idea of you give me everything you have until you don't have anything else, and then I'll move on to the next experience. That's because that's what a parasite does. A parasite is not intelligent enough to keep its host alive in many cases, not in every case. Some parasites do keep their host barely alive, but most parasites are so gluttonous by nature that they eat until the host is dead and then they leave the carcass. And that is not unlike what happens if you work 40 years and you get your watch. There's a lot of examples of what happens in our world that people get sent away when they no longer can produce. Maybe their houses got burned up in Lahaina. Maybe they're living in garden sheds across from Walmart, because now they don't serve the purpose and they're in the way because, they want their land. And so, they're being appeased with shacks because now they have nothing. But there is this aspect of sovereignty, that the desire for us to find a way to feed and clothe and take care of ourselves and our family exists, and it exists still in this world with the indigenous. It is not the comfortable way, but it is a way.
But I think everybody out here can, not everybody, but many, especially those who are supporters of this channel, can see life is requiring us to get out of the comfort zone. It's the comfort that has allowed us to create this situation that we find ourselves in.
This topic of appeasement and then the tangential idea of guilt is the way to look at, are we being in appeasement? Do we feel guilty? Are you thinking, I feel guilty because other people are having a bad experience, so I'm not suffering enough with my own stuff?
Oh, that's weird. Like, give me some of your suffering, because that's so, what is it, masochistic?
So the idea is work on self. Correct you instead of going to try to correct all the people who you think are doing injury to somebody else. Like, you're going to go to war and punish all the people who are doing what you don't like. Why don't you correct you first?
Ooh, that's how you influence the simulation. Watch the video simulation.
Yes, that's how you influence. So
yeah.
with that, if you'd like to pull a card for
Would
our
do.
talk today.
Asking the cards to show us the truth that we must understand regarding appeasement. Damn, this is really good. The theme is love. Heart chakra. Love should look and feel like love.
Yes.
Control doesn't feel like love. Appeasement doesn't feel like love. Yelling doesn't feel like love. Manipulation doesn't feel like love. Look, if you want to get these cards, if you're still watching this video and you see, man, they was just saying appeasement and it's in the card. You're right, it's in the cards because it's holographic, just like the design. The link will be in the description. But this speaks to the truth because, oh my gosh, these things, we do misconstrue them as love. And it's that social conditioning of,
yes.
Oh, because it's my lover, it's my friend, it's my mother, my boss. And it does not register vibrationally as I love you. It's more like control or manipulation.
Yes.
Or appeasement.
I agree. We thank you so much for joining us. We greet you in the greetings of Invocation Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude, integrity, discipline, and action. Thank you.